See this? This is a charger. It's used by convicts to hide money and drugs. They stick it in their body, they tuck it up their rectum. You familiar with that?
Back in 2004, Man on Fire hit theaters with Denzel Washington and a young Dakota Fanning taking center stage. The intense thriller told the story of a former CIA operative, John Creasy, who went on a violent rampage after the little girl he was hired to protect, Lupita, was kidnapped by a criminal group. That setup, mixed with Denzel's powerful performance, gave the movie a real emotional punch. So now, with the two actors reuniting in The Equalizer 3 nearly 2 decades later, fans can't help but wonder, could we actually see a Man on Fire 2 sometime soon? Even though the original movie was based on a novel by A.J. Quinnell, which was a pen name for Philip Nicholson, it only scratched the surface of the story. There are more books in that series, and Creasy's story doesn't actually end where the movie left off, despite what it seemed like. When Man on Fire was first released, it got pretty mixed reactions. Critics weren't super impressed, with Rotten Tomatoes showing a critic score of just 39% in 2023. But audiences felt completely differently. Fans really connected with the story and Denzel's intense performance, pushing the audience score all the way up to 89%. Financially, the movie made just over $77 million in the US, which was only slightly more than its estimated $60 million budget. So back then, a sequel didn't seem all that likely, but things have changed. These days, legacy sequels, those follow-up movies made years after the original, are everywhere. Studios are more open to taking the risk, especially if the movie has a built-in fan base and a decent shot at making its budget back. So, all of a sudden, the idea of Man on Fire 2 doesn't sound so far-fetched. While there's no official sequel in the works just yet, there has been some buzz that's got fans talking. The recent release of The Equalizer 3 brought Denzel and Dakota back together on screen, and while they're playing entirely new characters, the vibe between them felt familiar. Even the director, Antoine Fuqua, admitted it gave him Man on Fire flashbacks. He said that when Dakota came on board, it immediately reminded him of Creasy and Pita, just older, tougher, and with new names. He didn't say anything to the actors at the time because he wanted them to stay focused on their roles, but seeing them together again definitely brought a smile to his face. And it makes sense. If the chemistry is still there after all these years, then why not bring them back for a proper sequel? In a way, The Equalizer 3 might have served as a little test to see how well they still work together on screen. That said, Man on Fire 2 hasn't been officially confirmed, but a different version of the story is in the pipeline. Netflix has ordered an 8-episode series based on the first 2 Man on Fire novels, the original and its sequel, The Perfect Kill. The 2004 movie only covered the first book, so there's definitely more story to explore. This new series is being produced by Netflix along with New Regency Productions and Chernin Entertainment, the same studio that worked on the 2004 movie. That might mean the company's focus is now on building out the franchise on the streaming side instead of making a direct sequel.
She needed me so much. Sometimes I felt like I had nothing to give her. Just, I don't know what to do.
Still, the original film found new life on Netflix in 2023, becoming one of the platform's top 10 most watched titles after it dropped. So clearly, there's still a big group of fans who are ready for more, even 2 decades later. If a proper Man on Fire 2 did get the green light, the one actor fans would absolutely expect to return is Denzel Washington. Sure, Creasy was believed to be dead at the end of the movie, but that's also how the book ended, and in the novels, he miraculously survives and goes on to appear in 3 more stories. So bringing him back wouldn't be that much of a stretch. Another major draw would be seeing Dakota Fanning back as Pita, who would now be an adult. It wouldn't be hard to imagine a storyline where she's now got a family of her own, and something happens that puts them in danger. Of course, she'd turn to the one person she trusted with her life, Creasy. The emotional weight would be there, and the audience already knows their bond runs deep. Radha Mitchell, who played Pita's mother in the original, could also come back. Her character had a rough time in the first movie, especially after learning her husband was part of the betrayal, but she fully trusted Creasy. So if he's still alive, there's a good chance she stayed in touch with him all these years. Still, aside from those three characters, a sequel could introduce a bunch of new faces, especially if the story shifts to a new location or conflict. Story-wise, there are a few directions they could go. The original novel took place in Italy in the late 1970s, but the 2004 movie modernized it and set it in Mexico City. It also changed the fate of Pita. She survives in the film even though she doesn't in the book. So a sequel wouldn't necessarily follow the second novel word for word, but it could pull from it in creative ways. In The Perfect Kill, Creasy is hit with even more personal tragedy. His wife and daughter are killed in a plane explosion. Grief drives him to train a young apprentice so they can hunt down the people responsible. If the filmmakers decided to use that framework, Pita could easily become that apprentice figure. Instead of being a random teenager, she'd have that emotional connection to Creasy and her own reasons to seek revenge. Maybe her mother is killed in a similar way, or maybe her family gets caught up in something dangerous and she's the one asking Creasy to help her fight back. They'd probably steer clear of the third book, The Blue Ring, since it's incredibly similar to the plot of Taken, right down to a trafficking ring that uses drugs to control its victims. It would feel too familiar and not fresh enough to carry a sequel. On the other hand, Black Horn, the fourth book, could work really well. In that story, Creasy investigates the death of an American woman in Zimbabwe, only to find it's connected to a much bigger mystery involving the murder of a Chinese family in Hong Kong. Their daughter works as a flight attendant, and her story becomes key to unlocking the whole thing. That setup could easily be reworked to fit the movie's universe and offer a new location, fresh characters, and a brand new revenge mission, one that doesn't conflict with the upcoming Netflix series. Even though nothing's been officially announced, there are definitely enough pieces in place to make a Man on Fire 2 feel possible. Denzel and Dakota's recent team-up proves the chemistry's still alive. The original film had found a new audience thanks to streaming, and the book series offers several different ways to continue the story, with action, emotion, and a real sense of purpose behind it. So if a sequel ever does happen, it wouldn't just be a cash grab or a lazy remake. It could actually dig deeper into who Creasy is, explore how Pita has grown, and show what happens when two people shaped by violence and loss come together again. This time, not as protector and child, but as equals. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.